You know, have you ever really thought about how you get those pesky tea leaves out of your tea? Or, how does salt from the gigantic ocean end up in your salt shaker? It turns out this idea of separation is happening all around us all the time. It's like this hidden science right in plain sight. So let's dive in and explore the simple, but honestly brilliant ways we sort the world around us every single day.
So to kick things off, check out this beautiful thought from the poet Kabir. It's just the perfect metaphor for what we're talking about today, right? Learning how to separate what's essential from what's not. And yeah, I know it sounds super philosophical, but trust me, we're about to see just how practical and how scientific this idea really is.
All right, let me introduce you to our guides for this whole adventure, a brother and sister duo, Molly and Volley. They're on a summer holiday, traveling across India, and, well, they're about to stumble upon a whole world of science, hidden in the most ordinary chores. So let's follow along with them and see what they find out.
So this really is the big question, isn't it? It seems so simple on the surface, but the methods people have come up with, wow, they're incredibly clever and they've been perfected over thousands of years. So how do we actually do it? Well, let's jump in and join Mali and Vali at their very first stop.
Okay, so our journey begins at Malali and Vali's grandmother's farm in Haryana. I want you to picture it. Just vast open fields all around, and pretty much right away, they see something that kicks off this whole scientific exploration.
So they get there, and what do they see? The whole family is sitting together, surrounded by these huge piles of freshly harvested grain. And everyone is just laser-focused on one thing, carefully cleaning the rice and wheat. Of course, Molly and Vali are super curious, and their grandmother explains that this is the first absolutely crucial step. Before any of this grain can be cooked, they've got to get all the little stones and other bits and pieces out.
And this right here brings us to our very first scientific method. It's called handpicking. It's pretty much the most direct way you can separate things, right? You're just using your own eyes to spot what doesn't belong. Things that have a different size or shape or color, it really only works when the stuff you want to get rid of is easy to see and there isn't a ton of it. Super low tech for sure, but hey, it is incredibly effective.
And this is where it all just clicks, That moment where it connects to our own lives. At lunch, Molly starts picking the whole black peppers out of his food. And his sister Vali, of course, immediately jumps on it, teasing him. That's handpicking, isn't it? It's just that perfect aha moment, seeing a huge process from the farm happening right there on a dinner plate.
A little later, they wander out into the fields and they see something else going on. There are farmers taking these big bundles of wheat stalks and just whacking them against a wooden log. Volley, seeing this, asks her uncle, why are they beating the stalks? It looks like seriously hard work, but you just know there's a really specific reason they're doing it.
Well, this process is called threshing. The whole point is to knock the edible grains loose from the stalks they grew on. You can do it by hand like this, or sometimes with animals, or these days with big machines. So, okay, threshing gets the grain free, but it creates a brand new problem. Now, all that valuable grain is mixed up with thousands and thousands of tiny, lightweight pieces of husk.
So how do you solve this new problem, right? You've got the grain, but it's totally mixed in with this light, papery husk. How on earth do you separate a heavy little grain from a light piece of husk when there are millions of them all jumbled together? Handpicking is definitely not going to work here. No way. You need something bigger. You need a force of nature.
And the solution they use is absolutely ingenious. A farmer gets up on a raised platform, holds a basket full of the grain and husk mix, and just slowly lets it fall to the ground. And it's pure, simple physics in action. The wind catches the light, papery husk and just blows it away. Meanwhile, the heavier, denser grains of wheat, they fall almost straight down, forming a nice, clean pile. So cool.
This amazing method has a name too. It's called winnowing. It's basically the art of using the wind to separate things that have different weights. And hey, this is the exact process that Kabir was talking about in that poem from the beginning, separating the valuable grain from the worthless chaff. It's just so efficient, so elegant, and it's powered by something that's totally free, the wind.
Okay, Molly and Vali's journey isn't over yet. Next stop, they're heading to Ahmedabad to visit a family friend. And this is where the science lesson moves from those wide-open fields right into the heart of the home, the kitchen.
So Vali offers to help make puri, that delicious, puffy, fried bread. But before they can even think about making the dough, there's another crucial separation step.
Her grandmother lets her in on a little kitchen secret. If you want the absolute softest, most perfect puri, you have to separate the superfine flour from the coarser bits of bran that are mixed in.
And the tool for this job is, of course, a sieve. The process is called sieving, and it works on a really simple principle. It's all about particle size. The mesh on the sieve has all these tiny holes, right? They're big enough for the fine flour to fall through, but they're small enough to trap the bigger, coarser bran particles. It's the same idea you see at construction sites when they sieve sand to get the pebbles out. Okay, so all this gets Molly thinking, and he asks a really great question. He points out that all the methods they've seen so far are for separating solids from other solids. But he wonders, what if the solid is completely dissolved in a liquid? How, he asks, do we get salt from the ocean? Great question, right? And the answer is a process called evaporation. Basically, seawater is collected in these huge shallow pools or ponds. And then, the sun does all the work. The sun's heat provides the energy to turn the liquid water into water vapor. And poof, it just escapes into the air. And what gets left behind? The solid salt crystals that couldn't evaporate. It's this massive, natural process, and it's powered entirely by the sun. Pretty incredible.
All right, for their final stop, Molly and Volley head south to Puducherry to visit their grandfather. And believe it or not, even something as simple and comforting as a cup of tea is about to become a fantastic little science lesson.
So, their grandfather is making tea, but he can't find a strainer. No problem, he says, and he shows them a little trick. First, he just lets the tea sit for a minute. This allows the heavier tea leaves to naturally sink and settle at the bottom of the pot. That settling process, that's called sedimentation. Then, he very carefully and gently pours the clear tea out into a cup, trying his best to leave the settled leaves behind. And that careful pour, that's called decantation.
But, as their grandfather himself admits, it's not exactly a perfect system. I mean, no matter how carefully he pours, a few of those little stray tea leaves always sneak into the cup. So, yeah, sedimentation and decantation kind of work, but there's a much better, much more precise way to do this job.
And that better method is called filtration. As soon as Molly finds the tea strainer, they see the difference right away. The strainer acts as a filter. Its mesh has tiny holes that are big enough for the liquid tea to flow right through, but way too small for the solid tea leaves to pass. So, unlike decantation, filtration is super precise. It separates that solid from the liquid perfectly.
So Molly and Valley's summer holiday pretty much turned into this amazing tour of practical science, didn't it? I mean, from the farm to the kitchen, all the way to the tea table, they've seen how these really fundamental scientific principles are just woven into the fabric of our everyday lives.
Just think about this incredible toolkit of techniques they've discovered, that we've discovered. You've got hand picking, which uses our sight, threshing, which uses brute force, winnowing, using wind and weight, sieving, all about particle size, evaporation, using heat to get a dissolved solid, and finally filtration, using a physical barrier to stop an undissolved solid. Every single one uses a different principle to solve a different kind of problem. It's amazing.
Honestly, Molly and Volley's journey just goes to show you that science isn't some far-off thing that only happens in a lab. It's right here, in our kitchens, in our gardens, in our fields. So, the next time you make a cup of coffee or cook some rice, just take a second and look a little closer. Think about the science of separation that's happening right in front of you. And I'll leave you with this question to think about. What hidden science will you discover in your home today?